Hello, I'm Melissa Bowles, one of your classmates, and I'm going to give my presentation of my formal site visit. I visited the Niagara County Community College, that of course is in Niagara County, and it is part of the SUNY system of colleges and community colleges. The campus is has about 5,500 students and about 60 programs. I chose the community college because I have a friend who is a professor in the English department there, and he invited me to his children's literature class. I was impressed with the campus. It's very a pretty area around there. When I walked into the classroom, there were just a few students gathering, and I asked this one young woman, she's probably about 19, 20 years old. I said, "Is this Jim Murphy's class?" And she said, she sort of paused, and then she said, "Do you mean James Murphy?" And I said, "Yes." And I kind of chuckled to myself that, of course, she wouldn't call her professor Jim. So anyway, a little more on that vignette later. The class started. It was a very traditional college or even high school classroom, just a basic square with maybe a window, desks in a row. They had the typical equipment in the modern age of a computer that can project onto a screen. It's a pull-down screen. It had a regular blackboard, no smartboard, and a overhead projector that's a little more modern by today's standards. So it was a very traditional delivery method. My friend Jim, the professor, was speaking about children's literature. The class is composed of a number of novels, one of them being a Harry Potter book, and fables, fairy tales. The class is designed for general literature requirement or also for education majors. There was more women in the class. There were 28 people in all, and about 21 were women. So perhaps it was because of they were interested in children's education as a profession. The main delivery method that Jim used was kind of just a traditional teacher-led discussion. He had the stories displayed on the projection screen. They were available on the internet, so the students don't have to buy a lot of materials. Basically, we were discussing the stories of Hans Christian Andersen, The Ugly Duckling, and The Emperor's New Clothes. And he did a basic discussion trying to draw the students out, asking leading questions, kind of making analogies, life experiences that he was trying to spark the students' response. Some people raised their hand and they had good responses. He had to call on some people to kind of get them involved. It was not really a freewheeling discussion. It was very teacher-led. And then in between the two stories, he asked them to write in their journals about who is an ugly duckling in your life, which I thought was a very nice activity. And it broke up the two stories and broke up the class a little bit. So what I observed about the class is that it was a kind of a very top-down model of instruction. Back to my little vignette at the beginning, there was definitely separation between the teacher and the students. The teacher being the leader of the class and the students being the learners. Not a facilitator-led type experience that we've been discussing in some of our readings. I don't think this is a bad method of delivery. I think it can be very effective for the learners. But I think that the students themselves were maybe limiting themselves in what they could be learning. I don't think they were fully engaged. I think they were trying to do well and get a good grade, but I don't think that they were really trying to draw deep inferences for their lives about children's literature. So it made me question our information we've been learning about who is an adult and whether college is part of adult education. I think our professor told us that college is part of it, but I feel like that this age group, with just this one data point, maybe aren't functioning as adults. We had learned about from Knowles that adults bring their experience to the class. They have a self concept of self responsibility, and they have intrinsic motivations. I really didn't get a feeling for that in this situation. So it really does make me question, you know, at what point do people become adults, and at what point can we use the principles of andragogy for them, and is it effective for them if they're not really acting as an adult? I did want to make a quick point about the physical and psychological learning environment of the class that was discussed in our textbook. The physical classroom was a little confining. I thought maybe if the class had broken into small groups to discuss the stories, it would have enhanced the learning experience. But I feel like the class was maybe just too small to really do anything very innovative, you know, have a group discussion and so forth. And again, the psychological learning environment, I do feel like the students were psychologically feeling like they were down here, the learners, and the professor was up here, and not really making an effort to draw conclusions for themselves or self-direct their learning. So in conclusion, I did enjoy my experience, and it did raise a lot of questions for me, and I would like to explore those more, and looking forward also to our informal visit site. Thank you.